Okay, welcome everybody to this masterclass info session. I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint with you and we'll get started. I really appreciate you joining me today, or to those of you who are watching online, I appreciate you joining me that way. And I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to share this class that I've got in the works that I'm really excited about. So here is my screen. Should be able to see this. Okay. All right, so this is the Court Interpreting Masterclass for Spanish interpreters. And today we're having an info session just to let you know what is up with this class and what you can expect if you decide to apply. It's October 2nd at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Eastern time. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping. We have started the recording. The mute button, please do keep yourselves muted. If I invite you to speak, if you have a question or something like that, obviously you can then turn on your microphone, but we'll be handling most questions via the chat. And if you can turn on your webcams, I'd much appreciate it. That way I can see your reactions and it feels like we're more of a group. But if you can't, then I won't insist upon it this time because it's just an info session. If you are attending the class, then I will expect people to have their webcams on. A note on tech. The techie participant has a good camera and mic, has a strong, preferably hardwired connection, and knows where the mute button is. You can start practicing now and then make sure that if and when you join the class, you'll be able to do that then. In terms of asking questions, you're welcome to type your questions in the chat. I'll probably pause from time to time to take a look at the chat, and anything we don't get to, I'll answer at the end for Q&A. So I wanted to start by getting to know all of you a little bit, and then I'm going to talk about myself and what my experience has been as I've spent the last 15 years or so really geeking out on interpreting and learning how to turn my goals into reality and how I can help you do the same with this class. So first of all, though, I wanted to get to know all of you. So I'll actually go away from the PowerPoint for a moment so we can see each other, but I wanted to see, where are people located? Where are you located? I can tell you I am in Montreal, Canada. All right, we've got California, awesome. And I'm trying to make it at a time so that it can accommodate West Coast people as well. What else? Any other? Kentucky, woohoo! Nice. All right, cool. California and Kentucky. I know we have other spots as well. We've already got a few people in the masterclass who are mostly East Coast. We have a couple people interested from New Jersey, and then another one in Maryland, I think. So we've got quite the crowd already. Okay, so next question. What is your interpreting magic wish? If you could just, snap your fingers, use the genie bottle, whatever it was, and get your magic wish when it came to interpreting, what would that be? What are your goals right now? Trying to think what mine are right now. I think definitely just to be able to absorb all of the preparation material, like by osmosis. I have a conference interpreting gig coming up at the end of the month, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time preparing for it in advance so that I know just vocabulary in advance, that sort of thing. Although it's really fun to do that, so maybe I wouldn't want to be able to do that all at once. So Rosella says to improve your skills. Awesome. Cool. And I think that that's probably why anybody who is coming here today would be here, right? Is to improve your skills. When we're in the course, we're going to be as specific as possible. We're going to say, like, okay, yes, improve my skills, but what skills? I want to improve my consecutive. Okay, how? What is going on with my consecutive? What is stopping me from being the best consecutive person I can be? Hello, Marlene, and welcome. I hope that you didn't have trouble joining us. I think that there was a bit of a passcode issue with Zoom, but hopefully you got that email and now you're in. All right, cool. So we were just talking, we're getting to know each other a little bit. So we're talking about, what our interpreting goals are. And Rosella said to improve her skills. Laura says to harder court assignments, trials, federal cases, etc. Awesome, cool. So if anyone has anything that they wanted to add, they can go ahead and do that now. The third question that I have for you is, how badly do you want it? Like, is this something that you are really, really, really passionate about? If it's improving your skills, if it's improving a particular mode of interpreting, getting more confident on the job, being able to accept harder assignments. You don't necessarily have to answer this in the chat, but I want you to be thinking about how badly you want it. I've spent a lot of time over the last 15 years, as I mentioned a moment ago, working toward my interpreting goals. And it was something that was all consuming, and it had to be. You have to really want what you are working toward passionately. And that's really challenging when you don't know if you're going to get what you're working toward. So maybe you're working toward a particular certification, or maybe you want to level up your certification or whatever it is. But it can be very difficult to put your heart and soul into something when you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And so I'll get more into the nitty-gritty of it soon. But this masterclass has been created in order to give people an environment where we can give it our all. We can be passionate, we can work really hard, we can support each other, we can hold each other accountable. And the idea is that it will then be easier than if you were studying for all of this on your own. So back to the PowerPoint now. The question that you need to ask yourself is, what is stopping you from getting there? What is stopping you from achieving the goals that you have? And I think we all have different answers to that question. Sometimes it's like making the time for it. Sometimes it's really having the discipline, or even just forcing ourselves to listen to our recordings, which is something we're going to be doing a lot in this masterclass, is sitting down, listening to my recording. What did I do well? Identifying what I did well. What you did well is important, just as important as what you were not doing well, right? But then being really careful about what you didn't do the way that you would have liked it. And instead of just being like, oh, well, that sucked, which is something that all of us are tempted to do from one time to another, more than that, be a detective and look for patterns and try as hard as we can to emotionally separate ourselves from our work product, which is not easy. The work that I'm going to be asking you to do in the masterclass is not easy. It requires you to be honest with yourself, to face your fears, to look at the mistakes that you're making, but hopefully in an environment that's supportive enough to give you the push that you need so that you'll be able to do that and get past whatever it is holding you back from meeting your dreams. Laura shared that it's motivation to practice, right? And that's a big thing. I would imagine that most of the people in this room and those who will be watching this recording later feel the same way, that it can be really hard to just make that time and do it. And so part of this class is, okay, no, you're going to be carving out a particular amount of time each week for the in-class assignments, and then for the out-of-class assignments. So you're going to be working really hard, and you'll have a schedule all figured out. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to make time for that because you're like, no, this is the master class. I'm making time for that, right? And it's not this nebulous thing that, oh, I should just study sometime. Chris says, put into practice the skills you learn when it comes to taking an exam. Exactly, because you can learn everything that you need to learn, right? Okay, we know that we need to project confidence even if we're feeling anxious inside. We need to expect that we'll make mistakes and not become derailed. But you actually have to practice these things. You actually have to practice feeling a little bit anxious, but interpreting all the way through anyway. You have to practice your coping mechanisms. You have to practice all your strategies so that when you go into the exam or whatever it is that you're doing that you want to level up, right? Whatever reason it is that you have to be at this master class, you need to have practiced so much that it becomes second nature. And that's what we'll be doing together a lot. Okay. So I wanted to share my story with you. I am Athena. I think a lot of you know me, some of you may not, but I'll just share a little bit about me here. So this is my family. I am this little girl on the lower right-hand side. These are my 4 siblings. Those are my hippie parents, and that is where I came from. So as a little girl, I did enjoy acrobatics. And this is my family a lot older. This was a few years ago, and we had the opportunity to see a solar eclipse out in Wyoming. I think it was Wyoming. So anyway, that's my family, and it's grown since then. Everybody's a lot bigger, and there's 3 more babies. So it's gotten quite big, my family. Okay. Let's see. There was a question about if you're visible. It's possible that if your camera is on, you will be visible in the recording. So if you don't want to be visible in the recording, you might want to turn your camera off. Okay. I still enjoy doing acrobatics. That's a bit more in Mexico a few years ago. And in addition to acrobatics, my other love is Spanish. I fell in love with Spanish in community college when I was 16 years old, and I made it my major when I went to Rutgers University in New Jersey. And I knew from the get-go that I wanted to have a career that would involve Spanish. I knew that I did. And there was a linguistics track at Rutgers, there was a literature track, but I chose the interpreting and translation track, which was not easy. And from the get-go, I had people who were kind of like, wait, you just started learning Spanish 2 years ago. What are you trying to do? But I am very stubborn, and I'm also very disciplined. And I worked pretty hard and started very slowly to make incremental steps toward my goals. It was not like a all of a sudden and done sort of a proposition. Um, I had friends and mentors along the way who were very helpful. I had some internships, and I had some professors who guided me and helped me kind of figure out what my path should be. But there was a lot of guesswork too, where I was just kind of trying to figure out what I should be doing to get where I wanted to go. I took the written exam in the state of New Jersey for court interpreting. That was the first thing that I did on the road to my interpreting certifications. And I passed that. That was very exciting. And then, of course, that meant that I had to go on to the next thing. So my next challenge after completing the written exam was the arguably much more difficult task of passing the oral exams. And I passed 2 of them. I passed sight translation and simultaneous, but I failed my consecutive. So then it was back to the drawing board. And there was a lot that came up for me that I think you might relate to. There were a lot of unknowns. Am I studying the right way? Did I say that right? What should I be doing differently? All of these things were kind of plaguing me. And I remember very vividly wishing that I had somebody who could help me along the way. And I did have study buddies, and I don't want to overlook that. They were extremely helpful in my process. But it would have been nice to have somebody just a little bit more definitively able to explain to me what a good study method could have been. So there was a lot of guesswork, but I also took quite a bit of initiative. I started, and this was sort of in the process of studying for my state court interpreting exam, but it also filtered into my work on the federal court interpreting exam. I made a group where we could share resources. We created audio glossaries together where we could test ourselves on vocabulary from one language to the other. We practiced things again and again and again. I already knew at the time how important it was to have repetition, and I had that repetition in my practice with my colleagues. I had a book club so that we could read different things that might be related to like gangs, because gangs can come up, especially on the federal exam. We read books that were in Spanish and had lots of slang. So we kind of had fun reading these books, and it was also a way to study. So we were attacking things from every angle: the vocabulary angle, the content angle, and the technique angle, as well as the managing the stress angle. There's a question in the chat about working as a federal court interpreter. I don't know if I'll be able to answer the complete question as thoroughly as you would like, because most of my experience has been in state court, although I do possess a certification. But what I'll do is I'll come back to that question at the end and see if I can address it then. Thank you, though. And anybody who wants to can feel free to type in the chat. I'm going to take a moment here. I just want to check and see if anybody is struggling to get in. Okay, it looks like we have people on their way. Cool. I will go back to the PowerPoint now. So after all of this, the book clubs and the audio glossaries and the studying and the listening to the recording and then the studying same lab again, and then working on numbers because numbers are impossible to catch, and then working on initials and middle names because that's hard to catch, all of that practice, and also holding each other accountable with this group that I had formed, I was able to see some success. It was a lot of hard work. It sometimes felt like I needed to have octopus arms, and it could be stressful and overwhelming. So I was finally able to pass. I passed my my consecutive on the state, and so I was able to pass the state exam. Just a second. I don't know who else has gotten sick in the last 2 weeks, but the more I talk, the more I want to cough. So I might have to mute myself from time to time. I'm finally feeling better today, but I'm getting over a pretty fun cold. So that's a bit anticlimactic, but yay, I passed. And it was very exciting. I was able to make it to the state level, and then I continued my studies to the. So now I'm a certified healthcare interpreter. I'm an approved New Jersey court interpreter for French and Spanish. I'm a federally certified court interpreter. And I have a master's in conference interpreting from Glendon College. I worked freelance at the beginning of my career. I then became a staff interpreter in New Jersey. And in 2016, I moved to Montreal, Canada, which is where I am now. That's where I started to really focus on training as much as, if not more than, interpreting. Thank goodness for the mute button. Okay. So the takeaway from my experience is that more help would have been nice. It would have been nice to have a little bit more guidance, to know that I was spending my time the right way. And I did a lot of things right. I learned a lot from the experience, and it helped that I was guiding others through the process. And it was pretty self-serving, to be honest. Like, yes, I was happy that I could like be there and be a cheerleader for other people, but it helped me stay accountable because I was working in this group. And so a lot of the experience that I had at that time informed what I'm doing now with the master class. Now I have Athena Sky Interpreting. This is a quick peek at our monthly webinars. We offer continuing education in multiple states, and we've got we just had a community event on tests, actually. In September, just last week, we had our conference consecutive made simple class. This month, we have a note-taking class. Next week, we're going to be actually doing for the first time something specific for Mandarin court interpreters. And in December, I'm teaming up with Virginia Valencia, who is also an integral part of this course. And we're going to be working on finding your voice, to have good delivery when you're interpreting. We're going to be playing a lot of games. We're going to be getting silly, and we're going to be learning how to project confidence, even when we don't necessarily feel super confident. So this has been my main project over the last couple of years, has been training other people to be able to have the skills that they want in the same way that I was able to study and get to the level that I wanted to be, although I'm still going, right? And I'm still, excuse me, I'm still practicing what I preach in terms of study skills and everything else. So this has been my main thing for a while, but now I'm teaming up with Virginia Valencia, and that's really exciting. What happened was a few years ago, I sent some fan mail to this wonderful woman. I honestly wish she could have been my study buddy back in the day when I was working on, when I was working toward my certifications and everything like that, because we had a very similar path at the same time as I was creating a study, but a study group with book clubs and all the rest. She was investing her heart and soul into Interpretrain materials, which is what we're going to be using in the master class. And she took a very detail-oriented approach, similar to mine, actually. We were sort of both reinventing the wheel from far away. And now we're friends and we're partners and we're collaborating to create these master classes. So now she's my teammate, and that's really exciting. You'll see in this slide, I refer to her as the Wizard of Oz, because she's decided that she wants to sort of be the magic behind the scenes. So I'm going to be the lead instructor on this master class, and she's going to be the one who has the magical materials that we will be using. She may be popping by during this info session, in which case you'll have a chance to see the Wizard of Oz, which is pretty cool. So we want to give people what we wish that we had had, which is guidance, accountability, clear objective feedback, emotional support, and test taking skills in a nutshell, right? That's our hope for our court interpreting masterclass. I want to just make sure nobody's trying to get in. I think we're good. Okay. Looks like there was a question in the chat. Oh, somebody says they're going to be applying. Awesome. Yay. I'm looking forward to receiving your application. Okay. So we had a bit of a teacher wish list. We wanted our course to be holistic. And I hope that you'll listen to what our wish list was and see if this makes sense to you. Because if you're not looking for this type of course, then don't apply. But the type of course that we wanted to create it takes into mind body, mind, and spirit. So it's about technique, and it's about managing our anxiety, and it's about making sure that we're breathing properly. And it's just making sure that we are going into this with our heart and our mind together. So we will be addressing things like wellness in the class, and we'll be talking a lot about how to program your brain to succeed, because it's all about establishing neural pathways, right? So that you can actually have the quick recall to bring the vocabulary to the tip of your tongue, so that you can make something so automatic that it's happening in the background even while you're listening for new information. Interpreting is about fine point precision brain skills. And you need to be able to isolate them and in order to learn them properly. And that's what we do, is we break things down. You're the one who's then going to have to be like, okay, I understand what you're saying, or I'm asking questions until I understand, and then I'm going to apply it. Because it doesn't matter what I tell you, you're going to have to take it then and make it work for you. So this is why I'm having this info session, and it's also why I'm going to be meeting with anybody who wants to be part of the program, so that we can make sure that we understand what we're going into and that we can work together. I will work to give you the information that you need and to help have the environment and the accountability, and then it's going to be your responsibility to take what I've said and put it into action. And it depends on where you are now and the effort that you put into it, what you will get out of it later. We want to use a marathon mindset in order to achieve our lifelong goals. And so that means taking everything into account: goals, attitude, success, performance, support, ideas, everything. It also means self-care, because if you apply yourself like crazy and you're not taking care of yourself, you will experience burnout. And I've seen it. I've had students who are like, oh, I'm going to study, like, I've had students tell me that they're going to study 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on top of working. And it has never happened. And any student that comes to me with so lofty of a plan that they're forgetting to eat and sleep, it's not going to work. Maybe it'll work for 1 week, but after that, they're going to burn out. So that's part of this whole holistic thing, is that we want to give you a course that encourages you to look at everything that's happening in your life, and then how do you make the priorities? You can't pour from an empty cup. You've got to take care of yourself first. And then this is a little corny, but I'm a bit corny, so you got to nourish to flourish. Breathing techniques is something that we'll start our interpreting practices with them. Why? Anybody know why? Why would we start with breathing techniques? What's the point? Why would we be doing that in an interpreting class? Anyone?
Maybe to, this is Laura Athena, sorry I'm not using my camera, but maybe it's like kind of like a singer or an opera singer or something, to open up your voice, and so that, and maybe for confidence too, so that you give a better performance.
Thank you, Laura. So for confidence, to open up your voice. Chris also says to be calm. Rosella says to be relaxed. Absolutely. For all of those reasons, we might want to work on our breathing before an exercise. Yeah, all of the above. And I'll share a little bit more of that with you here. So if you can work on breathing mindfully, it will increase your concentration, it will increase your accuracy, and it will increase your memory retention. All of those things. Breathing is also an effective way to keep calm, as a couple of you said, staying calm, staying relaxed. When you are nervous, your brain is not getting enough oxygen, and it might deny you access to crucial information. And we need crucial information when we're interpreting. It's very important. An oxygenated brain grants you easy access to. So another thing that this course will be offering is study buddies. And as you heard from my experience, that was really important for me. A study buddy will increase your motivation, your commitment, and will give you useful feedback. Oh my goodness, I thought I was feeling better, but when I talk for a while, the cough comes back. So anyway, lighting a fire under your butt. I really like that last side. A study buddy will increase your motivation, your commitment, and light a fire under your butt, as well as giving you that useful feedback. We're also going to have a forum on the website, and that will help us to communicate with each other. I think I'll probably start a Facebook group as well. I know not everybody's on Facebook, but if the majority of the class is on, then it can be a nice way for us to all just share resources and moral support via an online platform. There was a question about finding a compatible study buddy that's at the same level. So bear in mind that sometimes a study buddy, the level isn't necessarily the most important thing, because you can actually learn quite a bit either from somebody who has more experience than you or from somebody who has less experience, and then you need to articulate what it is that you're doing, like learning through teaching. So you're not necessarily always going to want to have the exact same level, but more or less you're probably going to want to. And I will be assigning your study groups in that masterclass. If you're just asking in general, like not for the masterclass, but just in general, I would advise networking on Facebook and other places in order to find study buddies. But yeah, for the course itself, I'll be assigning your groups, and I'll be basing it on logistics, like time zones, for example. And then also languages, so that we can hopefully have complementary language pairs. And of course, I can't guarantee anything because it depends on who applies and who's in the class, but I'll be looking to see who might be a good fit together. And then it's going to be up to you to see how to make that group work. And after I've assigned the pods initially, if you want to switch, then it's your responsibility. You're an adult. You can communicate with other classmates and see if you want to. But we've had really good success with our pods in our master classes. And it all comes down to people being committed and putting the effort in. Chris is saying maybe a lozenge will help me. Yeah, maybe it will. I will, I'll see. I might go get one in a moment. All right. So we're going to be having a forum. We'll be repeating the labs again and again. A lot of people think that when you repeat a lab, it's cheating. And actually, that misconception is probably responsible for many failed interpreting exams. Because if you can repeat a lab, you can do it again and again and again. It'll allow you to squeeze every last drop out of each interpreting practice. There's a question in the chat about how many hours a week are expected to be committed. I'll be going over the schedule in detail later, but it's going to be at least 3 nights a week of solid commitment, either in-class meetings or group work or homework. So a lot of the time, people don't pass our interpreting exams, right? The state level or the federal level. And a big reason for that is that they're missing a team. And so that's what we're hoping to provide for you here. We want to give you the support you need to achieve your goals, and we want to be able to help you right up until the exam. You're going to have access to your materials for 1 year. So if your exam is right away, then you'll get access right away. But other people might wait to activate until a later date. And that way, if your exam, let's say it's in August of next year and we end in April, you'll be able to spend those few months continuing to study what we've all been working on. We're going to begin with note-taking for consecutive interpreting, and we'll be looking at listening, visualization, memory, symbols, and techniques to streamline your notes. And we're also going to be using Interpretrain's labs. I have a whole thing that I'm going to say about Interpretrain's labs, but I actually saw our Wizard of Oz sneak in the door just now. And if you wouldn't mind, Virginia, if you want to just talk for a moment about who you are and also whatever you want to say about your materials, and then whatever you don't say, I can say later.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see everyone. Thank you for having me here. I hope you're excited about this opportunity. The materials are definitely state of the art, and Athena is an awesome instructor. She is what I call a skill whisperer, because she can tell where people are at and exactly what they need to get over their humps. So I have seen her bring many interpreters to the next level. So it's really exciting stuff. And basically our materials or labs are composed of real court cases. So we took real cases, we changed any identifying information, and they allow you to go through them. First, take out the vocab. We give you all kinds of drills to get the vocabulary out of the way. I was very, when I was training myself for these exams, I would see how it was so hard for me to get through practice, because the vocabulary that I didn't know would always kind of get in the way. And I couldn't have a flow. You know, when you're interpreting, it's so important to get into that flow. And I couldn't get into that flow because the vocabulary would get in the way. So we created drills to have the vocabulary for you to practice the vocabulary and get it really, become really familiarized with it. And then you jump into the interpretations. And then you can work with them simultaneously, consecutively, at slower paces, higher pace, faster paces. And then you get to actually evaluate yourself and you get to get a score. So we're really excited about the material. We put a lot of work, sweat, blood, and tears into it. And a lot of our students have really given us great feedback about it. So we know they'll help you guys as well.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you had to say. You're welcome to stick around for as long as you want to, and I'll continue on with the presentation. Virginia already shared a lot of what I wanted to share with you, and thank you, Gonzalo. He says that he can attest to me being a good coach. I appreciate that. So Interpretrain's labs, they are really, they're Virginia's baby. She has worked so hard on these labs, finding real court cases, getting the vocabulary, and then getting the vocabulary vetted by multiple people, and then creating this whole online platform where you can go in, you can make a recording, and then you can easily evaluate your recording and get a score based on how much you were able to interpret correctly. So she's done a really wonderful job with them. They have a 3-step method, which includes vocabulary, and then your interpretation, and then your evaluation. And something that I added in after Virginia asked for my input was something we call blind runs, because it's really important to study the vocabulary and you want to learn techniques regardless of stress, but you also want to learn how to handle yourself in the stressful situation when you don't know what vocabulary is going to be thrown at you. So we do both. We do a blind run where you don't have any experience with the vocabulary yet. You use your coping skills, you figure out how you can do the best that you can do. And then after that, you can do the whole vocabulary drilling process. The innovative method that they use is proven to boost your skills and your vocabulary. There's a lot of really fun vocabulary drills and games that you'll find in step 1. And they offer you diverse stimulation so that you can activate different parts of your brain and learn the vocabulary sooner. It's visual, audio, and then there's different tasks to complete. Step 2 is when you're going to actually interpret, and you can interpret it slower or faster. So there's different options for you to really tackle these labs in different ways and get all the juice out like we talked about before. Dual modes, consecutive and simultaneous, allow you to work with the material in different ways. And like we mentioned, this all comes from real court cases. Step 3 is giving yourself an actual grade. So you'll be able to evaluate your recording and find out how well you did. And that's really good. I don't know of any other materials on the market that offer something like that. And I know all the materials pretty much. So this really will help you to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. And that means you don't have to guess, right? And I think a lot of us have felt the way that I was describing myself feeling at the beginning when I was studying for my exams, where I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. I wasn't sure if I was improving. And this really helps. It's not going to take away the work. You're still going to have to work really hard, but it gives you the guidance that you need to know that you're at least on the right path, you know? So you can trust the materials. There were a lot of people that contributed to them. You can see this whole list right here. My name and Virginia's is on here. Well, actually, Virginia didn't put herself. We see another Valencia on there, but it's not her. But anyway, it was Virginia and a whole bunch of other people. So many experienced people in different fields have come together to create these materials. So the question for you really is, are you the right fit? And is the class the right fit for you? Because we want to make sure that it's mutually beneficial. The schedule is going to be as follows, and any of this information can be found on my website. So if afterward you're like, oh shoot, I forgot, just go to my website, athenaskyinterpreting.com, and you'll see the link for the masterclass. You click on the masterclass link, and I'll show this to you at the end of the presentation, and you'll see the schedule there. We're going to start in mid-February, so February 13th to April 17th. It's likely to be 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. There's a possibility it would be 7 to 9 if we don't get West Coast participants, but I think that we will be getting people from both coasts, and so we want to give people a chance to finish out most of their day and then come to class. I know it'll be a bit tight on the West Coast, but on the East Coast, we can't go too late. So it's kind of juggling both coast schedules. So it would be 8 to 10, most likely 8 to 10 Eastern time, and that would make it 5 to 7 on the Pacific Coast. On Mondays, there will be live instructor-led classes. So that's really the one time that you have to very much stick by the schedule that I'm giving you. You have to make sure that you attend those live classes. Every now and then, if you miss a class, there will be a recording, but that should be the exception and not the rule. So Mondays, it'll be live instructor-led classes. The first 2 Wednesdays, it will also be live classes because I really want to set you up on the right foot and make sure that everything is going well before I send you off to work on your own. But of course, you need to learn how to work on your own because you're not always going to have a teacher around. And it's really important for you to know that you're using that time wisely. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is talking about how can we give ourselves good feedback? How can we give each other good feedback? And how can we make sure that we're not just saying, oh, that was fine, or oh, that was terrible, without actually having something productive to look at. So on Wednesdays, it'll be live classes the first 2 weeks. And then after that, you'll be completing your individual homework. That will give you flexibility. So if on a Wednesday evening, you're not usually around, you could do your homework on a Tuesday, right? One thing that you cannot do is wait until the end of the course to then suddenly do all of your homework, because that's not how effective learning is done. You need to be consistent and methodical and do a bit at a time. So you do need to do it weekly, but there is some flexibility as to when. Same thing with Thursdays. Thursdays are your study hall pods, right? That's when you'll be meeting with your study partners to complete assignments that you'll be given in class. You can decide as a group to meet at a different time. So the only times that are set in stone are the class times, which are going to be every Monday and then those first 2 Wednesdays. There's a question in the comments. Oh, talking about the materials and how they're really helpful. Awesome. Great. Yes. I worked with these materials actually before I knew Virginia. As I told you, I sent her fan mail. But yeah, the materials helped me when I was studying for my exams. So the admissions process. Your path toward success begins with your application. It's a 3-step process. 1, you apply. So in a moment, I'll share you a bunch of links and that'll include the application link. Then there will be an interview. If you're selected for an interview, you'll get an email and you'll meet with me. And we'll talk about what your goals are and we'll talk about the class and I'll answer any questions and we'll make sure that you're the right fit. After that is registration. So that's how admissions works. If you're a dedicated student who will commit to following our rigorous training schedule, you'll be selected for an interview. Once you've demonstrated you'd be a good fit for our program, you will be invited to register. The point here is we're not going to be accepting all applicants. Okay, we want students who understand that they will get out of the class what they put into it, who are committed toward working on their goals, who understand that their team is counting on them, who aren't there to make excuses, and who believe in our approach. So we really want you to understand that this is not a sort of thing where you can just sit there, listen, and then suddenly level up your skills. You have to listen and then actively apply what we're giving you. And you have a responsibility to your classmates because you're going to be working with them and giving them good feedback. So I'm meeting with everybody individually before the course begins to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we can really create a great learning environment for each other. Looks like there's something in the chat. Okay, just more conversation about the materials. Awesome. Code of conduct. This is also really important. As a master class student, you'll be expected to attend online classes or review the recordings the week they're posted. Again, it's not a thing of like letting them all pile up because that's not good learning technique. Turn in assignments on time, meet weekly with your pod to complete team assignments, and treat instructor and fellow classmates with dignity and respect in oral and written communications. You will be getting feedback from the instructor when you're in class. So we'll do different assignments and I'll pick different students to actually interpret for the class and then give them feedback in class. You'll also be giving yourselves feedback. You'll also be giving each other feedback. And then we will be having one mock exam where you'll be able to select a portion of that mock exam and send it to me for more detailed feedback. So the class is all about doing, it's all about working and then making sure that you can understand your strengths and weaknesses and give yourself the feedback that you need first and foremost, and then also offer that to your colleagues. So I will be guiding you along the way, and then you're going to be working toward your goals. In terms of time management, this is not about having time. It's about making time. It's going to be 10 weeks of intense work, but hang in there because the sacrifices won't last a lifetime, but the results will. If you really put your heart and soul into it, like we're going to be asking of you, you're going to be happy with what you see. And we're going to be incorporating the Sunday checklist, which is do nothing and chill, because part of all of this, as we were talking about earlier, is not working ourselves so hard that we burn out, right? It's really about being realistic with our goals and our expectations, and maybe asking our families to help us out so that we can make it through this master class and still, be breathing at the end of it, and scheduling downtime, okay? We'll have a diversity of tools, and just a few things that I want you to take away here. The dreams don't work unless you do. So we'll be helping you with skills for consecutive sight translation and simultaneous. We'll be maximizing your vocabulary. And most importantly, we're going to be providing you with a body, mind, and spirit approach and support and guidance and structure. So you're going to be able to push yourself and reach your goals. All right, so in terms of application, and then I'll get to tuition at the very end, I want to just share the website with you so that you have it. So this is the masterclass website. I'm putting it in the chat right now, and then I'll also put straight in the application link. And I want to walk you through the website real quick. So here we go. This is my, oops, that's the PowerPoint, hang on. Here we go. All right, so this is my website, and this is the masterclass section. If you were to begin at my website, this birdie will take you back to my website. Then you can see, you just go to athenaskyinterpreting.com, and up here, there's webinars, private coaching, click on masterclass, and that'll take you to where you want to be. And so there's going to be a description if you needed any reminders about what we talked about today. You'll find it all on this website, talking about the program, talking about what we'll do during the course. Here's the class schedule, our online campus, which is Zoom. The online platform, it tells you all about the Interpretrain materials if you wanted more information on that, including the app, which I didn't mention, which is a really great tool that we're going to be able to use to help us study. Study hall pods, you know what those are now. The 3-step method, you know what that is now. And then that's Virginia and me. The program details are all right here. So there's the admissions process, which you saw in that slide, and the code of conduct. And this is the tuition here. So you can see there's one payment of $16.95 as a lump sum that's available to you. And there's also a payment plan available, which is 3 payments of $649. I'll share that with you on the slide because it might be more helpful that way. All right, so the lump sum is $16.95. The payment plan is $649 3 times. And so the first payment would be due upon acceptance. The second payment would be due on November 1st. And the third one would be due on December 15th. And I think we're ready for Q&A now, if anybody has any questions. Let me just see if there was anything else I wanted to cover. I think that was all. I'll share as you're thinking of whatever questions you may have, I will share the last slide with you because it's cute and I want you to see it. There we go. We wish you great success in becoming the best interpreter that you can be. All right. I think there's one more person who just arrived. Let me let her in. Oh no, she disappeared. Okay. All right. So there was a couple of questions that I didn't have a chance to get to while we were going through the information. So let me go back up in the chat and see. And if anybody has any other questions, feel free to let me know. Okay, here's our participant who just came in. All right. So there was a question about working as a federal court interpreter, elaborating what the job entailed, how many days a week you would work, and what the benefits were. So, okay, I worked on staff as a state court interpreter. And it was pretty good in the state of New Jersey. I was working full time. And there's more descriptions. You can find them on the various job postings that'll tell you exactly what the benefits are. I don't know if you're asking about being a full-time or a freelance federal court interpreter. It is a very well-paid position if you can get it. Either way, if you can be freelance or if you can be on staff, you won't have benefits unless you're on staff. And how many days a week you work depends on where you are, who else is certified, and if you can make a good connection with the person who's in charge of hiring interpreters. So it's going to be pretty similar to whatever it would be as a state court interpreter. And if you're not yet certified at the state level, then I would advise starting there. All right, let me see if there are any other questions that I had missed. We talked about finding a compatible study buddy. If I missed your question, you can feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, I think I've got everyone's questions answered. So I'm really excited that you all spent some time with me this afternoon getting to find out about the class. I appreciate your time. I know there's other things you could have been doing on a Sunday. So thank you for coming, and I look forward to receiving some applications from you in the future and to us meeting on Zoom before you get registered for the program. I'm really excited. Are there any questions? Going once, going twice?
Hey, Athena, it's Laura. I'm just assuming that as we're applying and you're getting applications in and you're talking to everyone, if you can't find a partner for us or we don't really fit in, we'll know ahead of time, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point of the admissions process, is that I'll be able to get to know you as you're coming in. And yeah, if it doesn't look like you're going to be the right fit, then I will let you know.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much for everything.
Sure. Thank you for coming, and thanks for all of your insightful questions. All right. I will be posting this recording, so anybody who wants to see it will be able to. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Sunday. Take care, everyone.